Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Bold predictions for this Texas A&M program heading into 2024. Some of my favorite kind of episodes to do in their offseason where we all have these bold takes, these guys that we believe in heading into 2024. Now we all get the opportunity to call our shots heading into the 2024 season. Fired up to get into it. Would love to hear some bold predictions from you guys in the comment section. I mean, I say it all the time. We learn a ton from you guys in the comment section. I got a big notebook of names for this Texas A&M program. A lot of these names come from you guys in the comment section. So would love to hear some bold predictions for you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's start on the defensive side of the football. For the Texas A&M fans that have been rocking with the fellas the last couple of weeks and months, you guys know that my belief in this Texas A&M program, it starts on what they can be as a defense. And my first bold prediction, I don't know the last time this actually happened, but I think Texas A&M's got a great shot at it. 3 top 100 NFL draft picks on the defensive line, and I feel pretty dang good about it, right? I think it starts with the transfer Nick Skirton, who I think could be a top 28 pick in the NFL draft in the next couple of months. You're not only looking at an elite pass rusher who led the Big Ten in sacks last year, had a 20% pass rush win rate. He's also a guy that is elite against the run. You talk about heavy hands, getting off blocks. Nick Skirton, I think, might be one of the best defensive linemen in the SEC in the 2024 season. The other guys I'm looking at, Shamar Turner, who could have been a top 100 NFL draft pick had he wanted to declare last year. We kind of know he's one of the better ones in the SEC. Shamar Stewart is one of the more intriguing ones where you go back to the 2023 film, you see the flashes of why he was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school. Now, I think going into year 3, and this is normally when you see defensive linemen, line of scrimmage players really put it together, I think it's with consistency. Can we take those flashes that we saw every single Saturday and make it a little bit more consistent, rep after rep after rep? I think that's the MO for Shamar Stewart. And I think the other candidate that could be a top 100 NFL draft pick is Cassius Howell, the transfer from Bowling Green. A couple of weeks ago, just went and kicked the tires around the Bowling Green film. Where I'll start with Cassius Howell, he's a little bit of a different kind of pass rusher than Shamar Turner, Nick Skirton, and Shamar Stewart, who are, for lack of better terms, kind of Mack trucks, right? They have heavy hands, can kind of do what they want with opposing offensive linemen. Cassius Howell he's like this Ferrari coming off the edge. I mean, the first step juice, the twitch off the line of scrimmage, and then the flexibility to run the arc and the hips and ankles. Cassius Howell is going to challenge a lot of offensive tackles on that outside shoulder, and I don't think there's many offensive tackles that can deal with the juice that Cassius Howell brings to the table. I think the big question is the physicality going from the MAC to the SEC. That's obviously a massive step. This is a kid that has kind of that next level juice. And again, why are we believers in this Texas A&M team, specifically on the defensive side of the football heading into the 2024 year? It's one of, if not the best defensive line in the country. They can stop the run, get after the passer. If you can do those two things, you're going to have an elite defense, which kind of gets me into my second bold prediction. That is, this Texas A&M defense going to be top 10 in the country. And I don't even know how bold this is because I had them as a top 5 defense in the country heading into 2024. I kind of think it obviously starts with the front 7, right? We talk about when you have the ability to stop the run and then get after the passer on 3rd and longs, it makes your defense extremely difficult to deal with. You look at all the best defenses that we've seen in college football over the last half decade, Michigan in 2023, the Georgia Bulldogs the last couple of years. When you have an elite front 7 that stops the run, gets after the passer, it suddenly becomes a lot easier to play dominant, smothering defense. I think Texas A&M has that front 7 now. They kind of had that last year. I think their big bugaboo was that secondary was leaky, but I think more importantly, it gave up a lot of explosive plays. One thing that I feel pretty damn confident is not going to happen under a Mike Elko coach team is big plays given up by the secondary. You're not going to see busted coverages. You're not going to see blown assignments. And I think on top of that, Mike Elko did a phenomenal job revamping this secondary. I mean, a ton of young talent coming in, but also some veteran talent as well. And we don't even know what the starting secondary is going to look like. But from a pure number standpoint, the amount of depth and talent that they have on this team, I think we all feel pretty good that it's not going to be a bad secondary in 2024. So how good can it be is probably the question, but we feel pretty good about the floor of what this unit is. When you have a dominant front seven and a solid secondary, that's the recipe. And I think that's what Texas A&M has heading into 2024. Give me the Aggies, as a top 25 or top 10 defense in the country heading into 2024. Going to number 3, this is probably my boldest prediction out of the 5 that I have, and that is Ruben Owens leading this team on offense in all-purpose yards. The Texas A&M fans who've been rocking with the fellas the last couple of weeks and months know that Ruben Owens, at least in my mind, not only a very talented running back. We knew that coming out of high school. I think he fits this Coach Colin Klein offense so well. I mean, you look at the success Colin Klein had running the football at Kansas State, getting his running backs in space, one-on-one matchups with linebackers, safeties, letting them go to work. What better running back in the country to run in this Colin Klein offense than Ruben Owens, who had a solid freshman season? I don't think it was necessarily amazing, but it kind of made sense. I mean, what was the one knock on Ruben Owens was maybe having to bolster up that physicality. He didn't necessarily come in like a grown man, like you saw some other running backs over the last couple of years coming as true freshmen. He's going to put on that weight. He's going to increase that physicality going into year 2 of his college football career. We all know what he can do in space, but the reason I went with all-purpose yards is Le'Veon Moss, Amari Daniels, they're going to get their touches. Ruben Owens, screen passes, swing passes, jet sweeps. I think there are so many different ways to get a guy like Ruben Owens involved in this offense. Kind of reminds me of a guy like Deuce Vaughn for Kansas State, where when you have a guy that it's easy to get him the football, just get him the football in space, let him go to work. I think he's going to be a dangerous matchup for a lot of defenses as a pass catcher out of the backfield. We obviously know what he can do with the football in his hands. Give me Ruben Owens as the all-purpose yards leader for this Texas A&M offense. Going to number 4, top 30 rushing offense. And this is arguably another one of those most important conversations to have with this Texas A&M offense. There's really 2 reasons why I'm a believer in this bold prediction. One, the offensive line. We kind of think the offensive line from a personnel standpoint feels pretty good. I think there's a reason that Mike Elko got really aggressive at a lot of different positions on this program, not necessarily on the offensive line. Now, he brings in Reed Adams from Kansas. It sounds like he's going to be a very, very quality offensive lineman for this Texas A&M team. We said the personnel's there. I mean, you look at Trey Zune, you look at Ruben Father, you look at Chase Basantis. These are good offensive linemen as individual players. You go back to 2023. I don't know if there was a worse coaching job than Coach Steve Adazio with this offensive line. They were lost. They couldn't pick up pressure. It was largely a disaster, and none of these offensive linemen maximized their talents. So we think the personnel is there. You're bringing Adam Cushing, which we are all very high on as an offensive line coach in terms of his track record at producing elite offensive lines as units. This offensive line is going to get better. Now you go into how can they become a top 30 rushing offense. Then you go to Colin Klein and say how creative he is in establishing a rushing attack, the different ways he can get his ball carriers the football to get in space and to make things happen. You combine a really talented running back room with Moss, Amari Daniels, and Ruben Owens, with an offensive line that we think is going to be improved, with an offensive play caller that knows how to scheme up a rushing attack. I think this Texas A&M rushing attack is going to be really good in 2024, which is going to help them in pass protection. The more you can stay on schedule, give me a top 30 rushing offense for Texas A&M. I think it's worth noting Kansas State last year was a top 25 rushing offense. If you can put that together at Kansas State, I think you can put that together at Texas A&M. Going to number 5, Conor Weigman making an all-SEC team. The Texas A&M fans know Conor Weigman's my guy heading into 2024. I think he is probably the singular most underrated quarterback we see in the country. And I mean, for good reason, right? You saw him a little as a true freshman, definitely flashed, was playing some really quality football behind an offensive line that was a disaster until he got hurt. The offensive line gets better. The rushing attack, it kind of comes to life. We think there's the talent that's needed to be at the wide receiver spot. who's to say Conor Weigman can't emerge as one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC? Now, I'm not necessarily ready to make him that first team all SEC guy above maybe Carson Beck or maybe even Quinn Ewers. But outside of that, like, I think Conor Weigman's going to be in that conversation as one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. We know individually Conor Weigman's that guy. Now, can the offensive line hold up in pass pro? Can we give him a good rushing attack? And can the wide receivers emerge? And we're pretty confident that this wide receiver room is pretty dang good. I think Conor Weigman is going to surprise a lot of people. So give me him to make an all SEC team, whether that's first, second, third, or honorable mention. Although I do think he has a really good chance at making a second, third all SEC team. Those are my predictions for Texas A&M. A few of them bolder than others. Would love to hear how you guys feel in the comment section. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. The Texas A&M fans, you guys continue to show a ton of love. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.